Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. This is going to be the final video of this course, and in this video we're going to tie up a few loose ends that we still need to cover and also talk about the final requirements for the Lab 4 assignment. So I'm here in Revit and I have this Revit model that I created, and this is going to be posted to Canvas within the module. So you're going to want to download this and work off of it as I'm doing. All right, so basically what we'll be doing for the rest of this module is making some changes to this model, and then we'll be documenting those changes in just a very small sort of mock CD set that we'll be throwing together. Okay, so I'm going to have a list of requirements posted for you to complete with this model, and then you'll be required to put in all the things that I'm requesting, and then set up the appropriate views or the appropriate sheets with the correct views, and also include things like schedules and whatnot. So I'm going to have a full list of things, but basically it's everything that we've covered for the last 2 weeks sort of all wrapped together into this small little project. So this really shouldn't be anything that's too challenging, as long as you have kept up to date on the prior videos, and you'll just have to use the techniques covered in those videos to do some of the things that I'm asking for. All right, so basically what we'll be doing in this video, there's 3 main things that I still need to cover. So the first one is going to be reflected ceiling plans. I'm just going to recap those. We've done them in the past, but I just want to make sure that you guys are fully comfortable with creating ceiling plans, adding in ceilings, putting in light fixtures, that sort of thing. And then we're going to be covering elevations a little bit and detailing elevations with some notes and hatch patterns and things like that. So if we look at this, basically, let me go here and unhide something. All right, so we're going to treat this as a house that we're doing for a client, and the client basically wants us to do a renovation to change this kitchen area, and then we're going to be required to document just a few other things throughout the house as well as part of our CD set. All right, so I'm going to isolate this image I have here in the background. Okay, so currently in our client's house, they have a kitchen here when you walk in off the left side, and the kitchen is currently enclosed with walls here and here, and then there's also a wall here that is segmenting off this great room. All right, so basically you're going to walk into a hallway, and then you can either go left in the kitchen or right into the great room, and then that hallway just kind of extends all the way back through the rest of the house. Okay, so this is what the client wants from us. So they want to demolish a few walls. Okay, and so we're going to need to do that within the model using our demolition plan tools, and we're going to need to document all of those changes. All right, so let me unisolate this so that we can see what is currently in the house. So currently, when you're coming in, like I said, you walk into a hallway, and then you have these walls on either side and also a wall here. So all of this stuff needs to be demolished. So we're going to have to demolish this wall, this wall, this wall, and then also we're going to have to demolish the range that we have here. Oops. And also all the counters and things like that and cabinets. So if I go to a 3D view really quick to show you this, all this stuff you can see is going to have to be demolished. And I don't want you to just delete this stuff, right? We're going to use our demolish tools like I've showed you in the past. to do that, you just have to click on something and then click demolish and then click on it to demolish it. That's the way that we're going to do this, right? We're not going to be deleting it. So you want to demolish all of this stuff. All right. So then let me go back to the floor plan really quick. And I'm just going to move this out of the way for now. So we need to add in an island here. All right, within the kitchen. And let's see, I'm going to measure this out for us so that we know how far that needs to be. So that's going to be 3'6" away from the existing counter that's here. All right, so let me put those dimensions on. So I'm just going to draw walls over these so I can dimension to them. Okay, so what you're going to have to do is create the island roughly 3'5", 3'6" away from the front of this countertop that's over here on the left side. And then your island is going to be 3'4" deep by 6'7" wide. All right, so you just want to draw an island in there about that size. Now the island can be super simple. You don't even have to really do anything for this. Literally, all I want you to do for that is just create a modeled in place extrusion. So you don't even need to really detail in anything. It's fine, because I don't want you guys to spend too much time on this. So you just want to go to component and then model in place, create a modeled in place casework element, and then you can call that island. And then you're just going to make an extrusion, right? And you can extrude this up. Probably 3 feet is fine. Just going to do a 3-foot extrusion. Okay. Just like that. And then that is what is going to go into the model in that correct spot based on these dimensions. All right, so that's going to go over here somewhere. So that's all you have to do for the island. All right, so we're just going to demolish this stuff that we don't want and then put the island in. All right, so that's all you got to do for that. Now, let me undo what I did here so I can get my floor plan back where I want it. Okay. So next what I'm going to talk about is reflected ceiling plans. All right, so we've done this in the past. It should be pretty familiar to you, but I'm just going to go over it again briefly. So if we want to create a reflecting ceiling plan, we got to go to our reflected ceiling plan view. And then we're going to start drawing in our ceiling. So all you got to do is go to architecture and then ceiling. And we're going to leave our ceilings at 8 foot for this. Now you can do this in two ways. You can either sketch the ceilings in using the sketch tool, or you can use the automatic ceiling, which in our case that'll probably be fine because everything is really clearly defined. So we're going to create a gypsum wallboard ceiling like they have here, and you're just going to add a ceiling to every single room. All right, so you can just basically go through here and click and place these. Now, something that you have to keep in mind though is we're going to be demolishing this stuff out, so these walls. So that's going to change your ceiling, right? So if I were to demolish those now, you can see when I do that, I have these pieces of ceiling floating here. So this whole area basically needs to be drawn as one large ceiling, right? Sort of like this. And I'm going to end up doing all this because I want you guys to do it on your end. I'm not going to do all of this for you, but you'd want to demolish all that out first and then draw in a new ceiling. Okay. Typically, you would also have like a demolition ceiling plan as well to indicate areas of the ceiling that are being demolished and remade, but we're not going to worry about that. We're only going to do a floor plan for our purposes, so a demolition floor plan. All right, but basically you want to do something like that. So I'm going to undo all that. All right, so I have all of my individual ceilings in here. So something else that we want to do on our ceiling plan is add in a hatch pattern to represent the material that we're using for the ceiling. So whenever you're using a gypsum ceiling, you're usually going to have a pattern in there for that. So I'm going to go into my ceilings. I'm going to just click one of them and go to edit type, and then I'm going to go to my structure and then go here to where it says gypsum wallboard, and I'm going to edit that. And then I want to make sure that I have a surface pattern set here for my foreground, and that's going to give me that hatch pattern I'm looking for. So this foreground cut pattern that they have here for the sand, we want to apply that to the foreground surface pattern. So we're going to click on that here, and then we're just going to search for sand. All right, and then we're going to click OK, and we're going to apply the sand there. Now, something you might just want to do here is change this material to be a ceiling paint. All right, so if you know what type of paint you're using, so if you're, because we're going to be creating a finish schedule for this like you did previously. So you can change this gypsum wallboard material, and you might even just want to duplicate this actually, just leave gypsum wallboard in there. So let's duplicate this and then go to appearance and duplicate this asset right here as well. Then once we've done that, we can rename this to be our ceiling paint, whatever that is. So you would be renaming that basically the, let's just call it PT3. All right, we'll say that is our third paint. So PT3, identity mark is PT3. And then you would have your custom parameters for like all your color and everything, but you can just do it like that and then click apply and OK. All right, so we're finishing that with PT3. And now you can see that we have a little bit of a pattern here so that we can see that that's a gypsum ceiling. Another thing you might want to consider though is making this a little less pronounced. So if I go back in here really quick, I might actually modify the color of that surface pattern to be sort of a gray color so that it's not competing as much with my walls. So that looks a little bit better to me. All right, but then once you have that, you're gonna have to start putting in your light fixtures. Now, whenever you're putting in your light fixtures, it's always helpful to see the things that are showing on your floor plan so that you can get the placement right. So if I come down here and I find my underlay, I have this little underlay option here where you can actually put the floor plan below. Right now it's grayed out because that's being controlled by the view template. So you're going to have to go into the view template, and I want to change the scale of this to 1/4 inch. So on all your view templates, you're going to have to go in and change this to 1/4 inch scale because that's what I want to see for your final submission. So make sure you go to all of them and change them to 1/4 inch. But then for this, we're going to have to go here to where it says underlay and add in the underlay. So we want the underlay to look down, and we want to set the underlay level. Let me click OK here. You want to go here to where it says range base level and set that to level 1. All right, so now I can see down below the actual floor plan here, and I can see where everything is located. Something I'm going to do actually also while I'm in here, we didn't build this into the template, but I'm going to create a working reflected ceiling plan so that I can separate out my actual nice one from here. So to do that, we're going to come up here to ceiling plan and we're going to edit type, and we're going to duplicate this, and we're going to call this working reflected ceiling plan. All right, so now we have a level 1 working reflected ceiling plan, and then we're going to have a level 1 ceiling plan. So we're going to want to create a new view, plan views, reflected ceiling plan, level 1. All right, so there is my sort of construction ceiling plan, and there's my working one that's showing the underlay, because I don't want the underlay to show up on my final one that I'm going to be printing out. So now that I'm in here, I can start placing some light fixtures. So I want to see you guys place at a minimum, let's go with 3 different light fixtures. All right, so for example, we could do sort of a surface mount light fixture in the entryways. Then in all the rooms, we could do recessed can lighting. And then maybe over the island, we could do some pendant fixtures. So just 3 different fixture types is all you have to include. So I'm going to start out with some can lights. So I'm going to go to my insert tab, and then you can load these in from your library on your computer, or you can also load these in from Autodesk from their cloud. So if you click on that and then just type in anything that you want to load in here, it's actually really nice. So I'm going to type in recessed can. All right, and then I can just load those in from here. So just try this first one. And then I'm going to load in my other ones as well. Whoops. So I'll do pendant. All right, let's try this first one. And then let's do a flush mount. Okay, they don't have one. Maybe they have one in the built-in. So, lighting, architectural, internal. All right, ceiling light, flat round. We'll go with that. All right, so now all we have to do is you can do this from architecture and then go to component to place these, but what I like to do is go over to systems and then lighting fixture, because that will separate these out into their own little type selector here, so you only have the light fixtures now. So we can place a couple of these flat round light fixtures, maybe like in the entryways. Okay. And then you could do this in the bathroom as well if you want, but I want to actually probably put in can lights in there. So there's those. And then your pendant lights these would go over top of the island that's going to be in here. And you can see when I go to place this, it's acting kind of weird because it wants to place it on a vertical face. So you want to place these either on a face or probably place it on the work plane is what's going to work the best. So if I click that there and then I just place a few of these, right, that should apply it to my ceiling for me. And I'm going to go over to my 3D view and check on that. All right, so that actually did the opposite of what I want. Sometimes the pendants kind of work a little bit weird, so I'm going to undo those. And what I'm going to do is tab until I get my ceiling here, and then I'm going to go up here to my selection box, and I'm going to isolate that. All right, so now that I'm in 3D, I want to rotate my view around until I'm looking up at the bottom of the ceiling, and I'm going to place that again. So again, go to light fixture, and then you just want to hover over the ceiling here and make sure it's set to place on face, and you just want to place one onto the ceiling. Then you can go back to your RCP and you can move that wherever you need it or copy it. So if I copy that down just a couple times, I can then highlight those and then move them wherever I need them to go. All right. So now that those are done, you can add in some recessed can lights. So again, that's just systems, lighting fixture, and then your 6-inch can lights. You want to make sure you're placing these. Let's do place on face. And then I just want to do the same thing to make sure that those look correct. So I'm going to tab to this and I'm going to do my selection box. And so that looks like it's placing it correctly, which is good. So then you can copy these around and you can create a layout that makes sense for the space. So you're going to want to, in all of these spaces, determine an appropriate layout for your can lights and also all these other lights, okay? So by an appropriate layout, I mean like you want to sort of arrange these in a grid pattern in a way that evenly distributes them across the ceiling. But you also want to make sure that you have enough of them to properly light the space, okay? So when you're dealing with recessed can lighting, the rule of thumb is you want one fixture per every 4 to 6 square feet of ceiling space. Okay, so you can just go 5 square feet of ceiling space for that. So if I were to click on my ceiling here, you can see the square footage of this right here on the left under dimensions. This is 166-ish square feet. So if I were to take 165, if I go to my calculator, if we go 165 and divide that by 5, so for every 5 square foot we need 1, that's going to mean 33. Well, that's really huge. So maybe round that up to 6. All right, so that's a pretty big number. So if you're only using recessed can lights, like you're gonna have to have quite a few of them for this. So you want to kind of arrange these in a grid format that makes sense. And you could even do this to help you do this, use some detail lines. That's what I like to do. So you can just create like a few detail lines. And then we can use our align dimension to center those. Or equalize them. All right. So then after we equalize those that direction, we can add to our grid going the other direction. All right, so then we can just copy that a few times, and I'm going to turn on multiple copy. And we'll just do maybe 4. All right, so then we're going to go to annotate again and aligned. And then equalize that. And now basically you would have one can light centered within each of these squares. So if you were to do a diagonal line like that, and then move one of these to be centered on the triangle of that line, you can then copy that 2 times this way, and then copy that again 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so you can see we have quite a few can lights in this space, and this is a pretty big space, so suppose that makes sense. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, so that's probably a good amount for that space. And then, you know, over here in the hallway, that would probably be like 3 can lights if you were doing that. If you compare the size of the kitchen here to this, that would probably be about like 10 to 12 to do the kitchen. All right, so you just need to make a grid sort of in each of these spaces and lay these out sort of in a way that makes sense. So this whole area is going to be opened up, so then you're going to want to basically do a lighting design for this entire area here once it's all open, so not these individual spaces like I'm doing. So you want to do that for this area here, and then also for the bathroom, and then for these 2 bedrooms. Okay, so that should be good on reflected ceiling plans. You will also probably need to add in a few dimensions, so probably a dimension for your spacing. All right, so you can dimension between these to indicate how far away they are spaced from one another, and then also a dimension showing the spacing to the face of the wall in both directions. All right, so you just need to make sure that you're placing those wherever they make sense to have them, and you can drag these off to the side if they're going to overlap and sort of get in the way of things. All right, so wherever you think that you need to have those in order to make it make sense, add in those dimensions to indicate. All right, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is detailing out interior elevations. So if I go to my level 1 working plan again, I want to create an interior elevation of this wall here. So I'm going to have you do one of this wall in the bathroom, and then another one here for this wall of the kitchen. All right, but I'm going to show you the one for the bathroom. So what we want to do is go to, let me think. We want to go to View, Elevation, and then we want to switch from a building elevation to an interior interior elevation. Actually, I gotta load that back in because I accidentally deleted it out. All right, I fixed the issue. On yours, you should not have that problem. It should just work when you go to do it. So I want to go in and place my elevation and then change it to an interior elevation. All right, and then I want to make sure that I'm hovering over my wall here so that I can get it to attach to it. And then I want to make sure again that my plans are set to a 1/4 inch. So let me just set this to a 1/4 inch so that that will fit into the room a little bit better. There we go. And then I'm just going to drag this down and move it over a little bit. There we go. So now I can double click on my elevation head to go to my elevation, and then I'm going to start adding a little bit of detail to this. So first thing I'm going to do is edit my view template for my elevation. So over here on view template, we're going to set this to architectural elevation and click apply. And then I'm going to change a few things. So if I go to my model overrides, I want to click here on annotation categories and hide my levels so that I don't see that level indicator. And then I'm going to hide out my floors as well. So under model categories, scroll down to floors, and then I'm going to uncheck that, and that should hide my floor. Okay. And then I'm going to adjust my crop a little bit. So if I click on my crop here and I go to edit crop, I'm going to grab my pink line at the bottom and drag that up so that I'm hitting the floor plane right there, and then click OK so that I just have the elevation. Next, what I need to do is actually make an adjustment to my plane, because you can see the elevation is sort of acting as a section right now, and it's actually cutting through my vanity here. So I need to fix that. So I'm going to go back to my working plan. And you can see the reason it's doing that is because it's drawing my elevation right here through the toilet tub and through the vanity. So I want to click on that, and I want to click move. Try again, move, and yeah, so we can move it that way, or you can use your arrow keys to nudge it down. And you just want to nudge it down so that's sitting in front of your vanity. And then I'm going to use this split segment right here, and that's going to allow me to actually split this in half and move part of it down so that it's not cutting through the toilet. So if I click split segment and then split that here in the middle, I can drag this part down somewhere down in here so that we're going to see the entire toilet. All right, so now if I were to go back to my elevation view, you can see that's looking a little bit more correct. All right, so now that we have that, we're going to start adding in a little bit of materiality to this. So for example, I want to have some tile going up the wall, some subway tile partway up, and then for the rest of it I want to have some paint. All right, so we're actually going to do two materials on the wall here. So to do this, you can do it in a couple different ways, but the way I like to do it mostly is through materials, through actual materials instead of using your detail components. So if you go in here to your annotate tab, you have these filled regions that you can add in, and these are basically just hatch patterns that you can apply to stuff. But this can be like a lot of work to do because it works very similar to AutoCAD, where I would have to go in and sort of draw a hatch pattern and make it go around all of this stuff, whereas I could just use a material and apply the materials to the wall, and then it would look correct from the get-go. So that's the way that I'm going to do it. So what you're going to want to do is add in your materials. So I'm going to jump over to my material editor, and I'm just going to create a new material for a subway tile. So let's rename this subway tile, and I'm going to add in my texture. and then make sure that it's set to the right size. So if this was a 4-inch wide subway tile, let's see, 4, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's got to be 20 inches by 20 inches. So I'm going to make sure that is correct size. Okay, and then I'm going to add in the bump as well. And I'm just going to use the same texture for that and make sure that is also set to be 20 inches. All right, so now that I've done that, what I need to do is go over here to graphics, and I need to apply a surface pattern to this. So we're going to go to pattern, and then we want to apply a model pattern. All right, and a model pattern is basically going to allow us to set a real world scale to this. If you use a drafting pattern, the scale of the pattern will change based on the scale of the viewport. So you want to choose model, and then you want to choose one of these that are close to the pattern you're going for. So you can see you have a bunch to work off of, or you can create your own from scratch. I'm going to choose this brick one and then just modify it. So I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to call it subway tile. And so what you would want to adjust to get that looking right is this import scale. So what I'm going to do is just set it to subway tile, and then we're going to come here to texture alignment, and once this loads, we can actually align this over top of our texture. So it doesn't have to be exact. In this case, it's kind of hard to see, but you're actually aligning the texture to the hatch using this. And let's see what we have here. So we indicated that we had 5 across. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 6. So that means we need to get rid of a whole tile. So let me make this a little bit bigger. This is definitely easier to do, with tile patterns that are square, because you can just set those to be like 4-inch tile, for example. So if you want to use just a square tile in yours, it's going to be a little bit easier to do it that way. So let me modify this. And just bump up this scale a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go 1.3. And then we'll go apply and OK. So now that I have that material made, what I want to do is I'm just going to expand this a little bit so I can see like the faces of my wall. And then I want to hit my tab key until I get my back wall selected right there. And then I want to use my split tool. So right there, my split face tool. And you want to make sure that you are on the face of that wall. So right there, I think I have it. So when I click that, yep, I just want to, let's see, first I want to split vertically since I have this all as one wall. So I'm going to draw on a vertical line right here at the edge. All right, and then click the green check to finish that. Then you have to split it again. So I'm going to click on that again, and now I can split it horizontally. And let's see. I want to set the distance here. So let's go 4 feet. So I'm just going to create just a temporary line there with the pink line tool. And I'm going to move this one down so that it's 4 foot above the ground level. And then delete that out and click OK. And that's going to split that face horizontally. And now if I use my paint tool, I can click on my subway tile and I can paint my subway tile in there. So now you can see my subway tile hatch is applied correctly, which is nice. So the other way to do this, like I said, would be with regions. And you can use the regions here and there if you need to, but you don't always have to use them. And like I said, sometimes it can be more complicated if you do use them. But if you go under annotate and then region, you can choose a filled region, and then you basically just draw in the boundary of that region. So if I wanted like a little accent tile here, I could do 4-inch like that, and then click the green. No, I don't want to click green check mark yet. I want to go over here to edit type, and I want to put in a new fill pattern. All right, so then I can come in here to model, and I can choose a 4-inch tile like that. Let me duplicate that and call it 4-inch tile. All right, and then green check mark, and now you can see I have my 4-inch tile piece that goes along there. So that's 2 different ways to do it, right? We did it through the material, and we did it through just a detail item, which is just a 2D shape that you're applying the hatch to. And then, you know, you can change those to do different things because it's just a hatch pattern. But whenever you can, try to do it using the material method. Now, that was a filled region. Other things that you can do with regions are you can create masking regions, which will actually block things out. So for example, if I zoom in here on my toilet, I'm not quite sure why I have these weird shapes here. So this little half circle and this rectangle. So if I want to hide those, I could use a masking region. So if I come in here to region and go to masking region, and I just, you know, create a rectangle and sort of draw it over top of the thing I don't want, like that. What I can do now is edit these lines. So if I just clicked on the green check mark, you can see it masks over those, but you can still see the boundary of that masking region. So I can come back in here and click on these individual lines. So for all 4 of these ones, I can set those to be invisible. And then for these bottom 3 ones, I can set those also to be invisible. Now when I click on my green check, everything just goes away and it hides that. All right, so that's what you would use a masking region for, is to cover over things that you don't want to see and just like clean it up a little bit. Now you could also use your filled regions to indicate when something is being cut through. So if it's not clearly indicated, so for example, like this bathtub here, we could use a masking region to tell somebody that's a bathtub that's being cut through. So if I come here to filled region, not masking region, and I draw in my outline there, and then set that to be a diagonal crosshatch, and make sure that that's actually set to diagonal crosshatch. That would be under drafting pattern. So we'll do a diagonal down small. And then we got to change our scale. So for an elevation, we want to make this a little bit bigger. And as you can see, as I change the scale, because these were created using the model hatch patterns instead of the model hatch patterns instead of the drafting hatch patterns like this one, they don't change scale, right? So when I change the scale of this one to be something bigger, you can see it gets smaller. All right, but those stay the same. So that's what you could use those model hatches for, just things like that to indicate when things are like being cut through or hidden. Now what I'm going to do is add in my paint up here, and actually I don't necessarily need to indicate that through a material. You could use a hatch for it if you wanted to, but something like paint you don't really need to worry about. So let me edit my crop down again so that we just have this here. And then what I'm going to do is add in just some notes to this. All right, so for example, let's go to, let me measure. Okay, so we have 3 by 10. So I want to go up here to text, and then I want to add in some text notes to this. So all you have to do is just click over here on the side, and that will place your note. And then you can add in a note like 3 inch by 10 inch subway tile. And then you got to add in a leader. So to add in a leader, use these buttons here. So I'm going to add in a leader to the left, and then I'm going to point to my subway tile and just straighten it out like that. And then we can add in another one, so you can copy this. And I'm just going to call this 4 inch by 4 inch accent tile. And then we'll do another one for our paint, and we'll just call this painted with SW and then a color. So agreeable gray. All right, so that's all there really is to adding in these notes. It's pretty simple. You just go in here and place those, and then add in leaders, and you can very quickly just create nice detailed looking elevations. So now let me turn on my thick lines, because I have those turned off right now, and I just want to make sure that my boundaries are looking okay. So if you look at this now with my thick lines on, you can see that the outline is a little bit thicker, but then when I come here to my regions, the regions are sort of overriding that thickness, which doesn't look great. So you're going to want to come in here and make adjustments. So I like to work with thick lines off, but then when you're ready to put these on a sheet or something, you want to turn them back on and then see what needs fixed. So I can see here, if I go to my boundary of my filled region, I need to change these lines on the edges from thin lines to something that's a little bit thicker. All right, so maybe medium lines. See if that fixes it. So that's not thick enough. So I can then go to like wide lines. So let's try wide lines. There we go. So that looks better. And then again for this one here, there we go. And then down here at the bottom, that still looks a little bit off. So something you can actually do also is add in detail lines. All right, so detail lines are just lines you can put in anywhere. If you're only going to show something in one view and you didn't need to see it anywhere else, you could just draw a detail line. So for example, if I wanted to add in like a mirror here, you know, you could just draw in a mirror like this in 2D and then put like a hatch pattern in for glass and just say there's a mirror here. But if you're going to show it in multiple locations throughout the drawing, you're going to want to model that in as an actual family and not just do it this way. But you can in some cases. So if I wanted to do that, like a better example would probably be a masking region for that. If I go to annotate region, masking region, and then just draw in a masking region like that over top of the tile and give it actual dimensions, so like 3 foot by 2 foot. All right, so now I have a masking region in front of that, and now that I've drawn that, I can put a filled region over top of it. And I can set that to be a glass pattern. So I'm going to call this glass. And then change my hatch pattern to one that sort of resembles glass. And they don't really have any decent ones in here for glass. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm not going to create a filled pattern. I'm just going to use my detail lines. And I'm just going to draw a few detail lines like that. Maybe mirror this one. Like that. There you go. And then we can beef up the thickness of these lines here. So I can select all those and change them from thin lines to medium lines. So that sits out a little bit better, and then I get some nice line hierarchy going on. And then here at the bottom, my bottom piece is still a little bit messed up here at the bottom of the elevation. So I can go and add in another detail line at the bottom all the way. And I'm going to change the line type of that detail line to be a wide line like that. So now that fills that in and makes it look all correct, which is good. So let me move this one down and add in one last note for the mirror. There we go. So that looks pretty good for that elevation. And then I can go ahead and just place that onto a sheet if I want to. So go to my 201 interior elevations, and then let's find my elevations here under elevations, interior elevations, drag that on. Okay. And then when you're placing these, you want to click on the viewport and then drag your view title back. And I like to bring it pretty close to the edge here of the actual name of the view. All right, and I'm going to rename my view here. So right click on and rename it, and we'll just call this bathroom wall. like that. So that looks pretty good. And then, okay, those are 1/4 inch. Let's set these to be 1/8 of an inch text. 1/4 inch is a little bit big. So I'm gonna click on those, edit type, duplicate. I'm gonna go with 1/8 of an inch. Text size is going to be 1/8 of an inch. And then we're gonna match property. Use MA, click on that one, and then click on all these to shrink them all down too. There we go, so that looks a little bit better. So there's one elevation that's required, and then you're going to, on your own, have to go in here and draw in the elevation of this wall right here. All right, so let me just show you what that looks like. View, elevation, interior elevation. Okay, so that's what that looks like, but I want you to add in a backsplash here. All right, so I want the backsplash to only come up to the height of this base cabinet. So you're gonna have to split the face of this wall back here and add in just some kind of a tile backsplash. It doesn't matter what hatch you use, but just something that's for a tile. So you could use the square ones, or you could use the brick pattern if you wanted to. And then you're gonna have to add in a few notes to this just to indicate what everything is. You know, things like the countertop material, things like the backsplash material, any relevant notes, things like the paint material that's on this wall above the backsplash material. So just stuff like that. All right, then you're going to want to add that to that A201 sheet and make sure that you have the correct view template applied so that it appears correctly. Make sure, if you have your thick lines on, that the borders and the line hierarchy looks good on everything all the way around. A good way to actually do that also, just to make sure that it's going to work or look correctly all the way around the border, is when you are editing this crop. So I take that up like that. You can use the detail line, annotate detail line, and you can draw a detail line as a square and a wide line and just put that all the way around everything, and then it's just gonna like look correct automatically for you. So I'm gonna rename that to kitchen wall. Go back to my A201, and then I'm gonna add that in onto here. All right. So yeah, that's all you basically need to do, is just do that and then add in your detailing with the hatches and the notes and stuff like that for this. And then, oh, one last thing, the furniture plan. So I want you guys to also include a furniture plan. So if I go to my furniture plan here, you're gonna want to hide a few things. So if I go to my furniture plan template, I want to hide my elevation markers. So if I go to override the annotation and then find my elevations, uncheck that and apply. We're gonna hide that for sure. And I think that's all I need to hide for now. All right, and then I want to set my scale to be a little bit smaller, or to be a little bit larger, I mean. So we got to change that to a 1/4 inch, like that. And then you're going to have to create sort of a furniture layout for this space over here. So this great room space. So I want you to have, let's see, at the minimum, a sofa and a chair and a TV stand in this room over here. So those three things: sofa, chair, TV stand. In these bedrooms, I just want you to place one bed in each bedroom. All right. And then over here in front of the bar or the island, I want you to place a few stools that you can sit at the island. All right. So let me type that out really quick so you can see it. Great room furniture. This is just for you so you know what to include. And I'm going to have this include on Canvas as well. This is at a minimum. So one sofa, one side chair, one TV stand, and then let's say 3 to 4 stools in front of island. Okay, and then copy this. And then bedroom furniture. We're just going to do one bed per room. All right, so that's all you got to include. Now, you're going to have to do a furniture schedule. All right, so if I go to my example here, here's an example of a furniture schedule. Now, this should be really easy to do because you've already done the finished schedule and all of that. All right, it's basically the exact same way to do it as you did with the finished schedule. It's just for furniture now. So I need you to show the tag ID of the actual component, the category that it is. So, you know, seating or table or whatever. The name of the product. So I want you to find real products from like places like Herman Miller, stuff like that, like a real product that has a name, and place it in here. Include the manufacturer. You don't need to include the dimensions. You don't have to worry about that. And then include a material. All right, so if it's a sofa, I want to see a fabric applied to the sofa or the side chair. If it's the stools and they're made out of wood or metal, I need you to have that indicated on there. Or any tables, if those are wood or metal. So add all of that in. So basically all this stuff here except for dimensions is what I need to see on the furniture schedule. Now when you're creating a furniture plan, you want to, let's first add in just a basic piece of furniture. So insert, load family. Actually, I'll load it from here. All right, so we have a sofa, and then you have to tag these. All right, so let me just let's add in a stool so that you can see how that works with two at the same time. So insert, load family. I'll just do a stool. All right, I guess I don't have a stool. Let's do just do a chair. Okay. So we have a sofa and we have a chair. And I'll just arrange these in a simple layout. Okay, sofa and chair. Then you got to tag them. So we're going to annotate, and then we're going to go to tag by category. So you can just click on these individually with the tag by category to tag them individually. And then you do want to load in a furniture tag, so you're going to want to say yes to that. Then go to architectural, whoops, and then find furniture tag and then open. And then you can click on your pieces of furniture, and that's going to add the tag to them, and then you can just drag the tag right directly on top of them. And then you can see it has this leader attached to it, so that's something I need to get rid of. So if I click on that and then go over here to leader line, I can uncheck that. So you just want to put the tag directly on top of the component. Another thing you can do is actually just place all of your furniture and then tag them all at one time. And you just do that by going to tag all and then choosing the type of tag you want. So furniture tags, and then click apply. That's going to tag them at the same time. And then just turn the, make sure the leader is off on those. So I'm gonna move this one down here. Now you can see they are not showing anything for the actual tag ID. So what you need to do is go onto each of those families, and you wanna go to here where it says mark, and I think that's where it's pulling from, and maybe type mark actually. Let's go to type mark under type, and we'll just call this S1 for sofa 1 and click apply. Now you can see that says S1 there. And then up here, we'll just call this one, whoops, we gotta click on the chair, edit type. This one is going to be C1 for chair 1. All right. And then obviously if you had different types of sofas or chairs, those would be S2, S3, C2, C3, things like that. If you had a table, you could call that T1. All right. But then that's just going to be your tag ID that's going to appear here on the left side. All right. So that's just your type marker. And then you're just going to tag all those pieces of furniture that you add in here. All right. So then another thing to consider when you're putting these plans together is you want to look at all your views, and you want to make sure that things are not showing, or like things are displaying the way you want. So for example, on the construction plan, you want to make sure that the furniture is not appearing on that. In this case, it's not, so that's good. Same with your finished plan. So that's good. Demolition plan as well. Yeah, nothing is showing up there. Oh, another thing. So while I'm on the demolition plan, because you're going to have to do one, make sure that the phase is set to existing on here. And if nothing is showing up, you're probably just going to have to delete this out and remake it. So I'm going to delete that and then remake that. Plan views, floor plan, demolition, level 1. Set the phase to existing. And, oh, we're going to have to set, okay, so I'll fix this on it. On yours, it should appear okay, but in my case, I have to set all this stuff to be in the existing phase. So I'm going to have to only check my built elements. Come over here to the left and then change phase created to existing, right? And then those will appear correctly in the demolition plan. At least they should. All right, there we go. So I'm going to make sure that that is showing up correctly in the file that I give to you guys because something was going on weird with mine. So yeah, now if I demolish something, there we go. So yeah, it's working correctly now. But you want to make sure that like things like the furniture are not showing in that demolition plan. So you'd want to come here to your view template and then override model and turn off furniture. Okay, and that's going to get rid of it there in the demolition plan. All right, so a couple last things to also touch on. If I go back to my ceiling plan here, because I just remembered I forgot to talk about this, you'll want to add in ceiling tags to your ceilings, which will indicate the ceiling heights. So all you got to do for that is go to annotate and then tag all, and then we're going to choose ceiling tags. We don't have those loaded in right now though, so let me load those in. If I go to insert, load family, and then go to ceiling tag with height, we're going to add that in, and then we're going to go to annotate, tag all, and then ceiling tags and apply. All right, and then that's going to add those in. And then let me edit my view template here and turn off a few things. So let's turn off under annotation categories our elevations. There we go. And then change my scale to 1/4 inch. There we go. And then you just want to make sure that all relevant ceilings are tagged. So these ones here, we don't really need to worry about. That little one, we don't really need to worry about. Yeah, we're just not going to worry about the closets. But the rest of those should be fine. And like I said, this is just going to be one big area, so that will just be one ceiling tag there. But as you can see, that just indicates the type of ceiling. So gypsum wallboard, and then it's telling you the height from the floor. So you're just going to want to add those into your reflected ceiling plan as well. And also make sure that they're not like overlapping with any light fixtures. So you want to place those tags in just good spots where you can read everything. All right, so now the final thing I'm going to talk about is plotting. So actually saving these out to PDF files. So the way that we go about doing that is up here on the file menu, you're going to go to file and then print, and then you're going to want to batch print these. All right, and then we want to print out sheets. Okay, so I'm going to go to print. And then this is going to go ahead and start that print process. Actually, what I'm going to do instead is click cancel on that. And then let's go to file and then print, and then just click the regular print button. Then we need to set this to either Adobe PDF or Microsoft Printed PDF. I'm going to use Adobe. Make sure that combine multiple selected views and sheets into single file is selected. And then our print range, we want to click on selected views and sheets, and then click here where it says select. Then you want to switch this. You want to come down here and you want to uncheck views, and then only check all these sheets. All right, so once those are all selected, click OK. And then let's go to the setup to make sure all the settings look right. So we want these to be landscape. For zoom, click here on zoom and make sure it says 100%. And then paper size, this is going to be ArcD. I think that's good. And I'm going to click up here on properties and make sure that looks good. So ArcD, paper quality, set that to black and white. Landscape. Okay, that all looks good to me. So we'll just click OK and then OK again. And then, oops, I want to combine these. There we go. OK. Then it's going to ask me to print these out somewhere. So let's save that. And then hopefully it prints it out correctly. So let's let that load. All right, so when it's done, it should print out to the PDF like this. And then you should have every sheet in here inside of this PDF file. So you can see I have 9 sheets. And mine aren't set up at all. I just have this one on here that's set up, but you're gonna have to go in and set up all of those sheets with the things that I'm asking you for. Now, something that I had to do to get this to actually print out correctly, it was giving me a problem, and you guys might run into the same thing. You might have to access the print dialog using Control P instead of coming up here and doing it from this button here. So if you are running into a problem where the printer never ends up creating the files, it just sits there for forever, just cancel out of that and then go to Control and P to bring up the print dialog that way. And then make sure you come in here and set everything correctly. So ArcD, zoom to 100%, and then have all the settings exactly the same as you're seeing them here. And then click OK, and then try to print it again. All right, and then it should process. So there it's going instead of just sitting there frozen. All right, so that's all there is to plotting these out. It's pretty simple. So like I said, I'm going to have a full list of requirements for the things you need to include in here. Shouldn't be too bad. It hopefully shouldn't take you guys too long, but that's going to be the last thing that we're going to do for this class. So it's been a good semester teaching you guys. Hopefully you've picked up a few handy tips here and there and got something useful out of this course. And then good luck to you guys going forward in all of your future classes.